Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time! 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Taylor's gone! Come on, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Oh. Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome aboard to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you live from Indianapolis here at Gamebridge Fieldhouse, site of this year's Big Ten men's basketball tournament. Welcome aboard. Coach Shannon Griffith alongside as well. I hope you guys are having a great day, great start to your day. And it's tournament time as the Big Ten tournament began yesterday. We'll cover, recap all of that. Some help for Indiana as Ohio State goes down, as they were in the last 4 in, but they were below Indiana a couple of spots. We'll go over all of that, the ins and outs. What does Indiana have to do today? What are some of the other games that are coming up, matches, other games that are happening? We'll talk some football, of course, since we've got the coach with us. Spring ball is going on, and it's the weather's here, brother.
Yeah, it's pretty good weather days here so far for spring football, because usually you're starting and it's usually cold and wet, and you're going inside more than you're going outside. But man, they started off with a beautiful day on Saturday, and it's just kept rolling, and they've been able to be under some beautiful weather there at Memorial Stadium. And I'm sure Coach Signetti and the crew are happy that they're able to get outside more so than inside.
Well, absolutely. It's just nicer. It helps break those winter doldrums, if nothing else. I mean, I know that 2 days ago when we had that first beautiful day of the year, I was truly walking around, taking Hank out for a walk, and I'm like, it was like the first time I'd ever seen sunshine.
Yeah,
it was weird. It was like, my gosh, how bad has this winter been? But it's gone, and it's behind us, baby. It's behind us, and it is March Madness time. Although spring practice is going on, we're here at the men's Big Ten basketball tournament, where that's right, Dusty Banners, dress for success. Yeah, I clean up a little bit every now and then, bro. Every now and then we got to clean up the action. But appreciate everybody joining us, no matter where and how you're following. Oh, and guess what? Well, here's the funny thing is, I like to blow people's mind. So I'm going to really mess with some people today. Son of a bitch. Damn. Oh, hell. I can say whatever I want. I don't, because of the NCAA tournament, the show is not on radio, any of the radio stations today, because they're all carrying games. So we'll just be on YouTube. So I was thinking about that last night. I was like, oh, I can say whatever the hell I want. Yeah. I don't have to worry about anything. Not that I would be comfortable just having that kind of a conversation, but I just found it to be period. Looking at the comments, Russell says he believes that Chris Beard has the Indiana job locked down for the next head coach. Cool. Fernando Mendoza looked, well, those things are firing by too fast. Can't keep up with the comments. They went by too damn fast. Someone said Fernando looked good, I thought. Brent, Fernando Mendoza looks good throwing the football. Yes, he does. Got to see him. I think I've talked about this at Pro Day, and Indiana's not going to miss a thing at quarterback. I truly believe that. All right, let's talk about the football. Get it out of the way, because everybody's going to want to talk about everything else. Fernando, I seriously believe Indiana will take zero drop-off at quarterback. And I know that's saying a lot, because Curtis Rourke was is about as solid and consistent as it gets, especially for a first-year guy within the program. Of course, everybody was a first-year guy in the program, really, last season. But now you've got a guy coming in who he is not as experienced as Curtis Rourke was, but he seems to be as successful. I mentioned the fact that, he threw for just over 3,000 yards, and he was sacked 41 times.
Yeah.
I mean, what was Curtis Rourke sacked? 15, maybe?
Yeah,
12,
it was low.
15?
Yeah.
So imagine all the extra, those missed opportunities. I mean, we're 25 extra opportunities to throw the ball. But I don't think that's going to be a problem, because what was Indiana's Achilles heel last year, the offensive line, is it one of their strongest units now, with what they have coming back, with what they have gained, getting Khalil Benson back from Colorado after he left Indiana, getting Pat Coogan in from Notre Dame. They have, and if you can get Drew Evans back, they'll be pretty solid there. I don't know how deep they are, but they're good. They're better on the offensive line. I don't know if they're how much deeper they are, though.
Well, I think they feel they got the depth that maybe they had been lacking a little bit even last year, because they do feel they probably have 7 or 8 guys that can play, and that adds some depth, especially guys that can play either guard or tackle. So that gives them a better feel for where to put guys in terms of what is their best position along the offensive front. So even last year, up until the Michigan game, probably where they had the injuries that occurred that brought some guys out, that was probably when we saw a little bit of a drop in some respects, but you also have to consider who they were playing. Michigan had 3 guys up on the defensive line. They'll probably get drafted here in a couple days. But overall, I think they did a better job protecting Rourke. And the thing that I think Fernando gives Indiana more than maybe what Curtis gave them is escapability. We find out Curtis plays on a ACL tear that, all but eliminates his ability to scramble in some respects. But I think Mendoza gives them a little bit more flexibility there and elusiveness, that they can do some things, move the pocket, change the launch points, where they really couldn't do that with Curtis because of the knee. So, the only thing I would think that lacks on Mendoza's side of the coin is I don't think he's totally filled out in his upper body either. He's still kind of a lanky kid. Now he's 6'5" and 205. So I'm interested to see if his growth from this point right now all the way up through the summer when they come back in fall, because I guarantee it, they're going to put a little bit more muscle and meat on the bone, so to speak, with him. But from all the parent situations in terms of people that have actually had eyes on him, as yourself mentioned, and what video has come out from some of the spring practices and such, I think he confirms what people saw of him from Cal. He does have a very lively arm. He can throw the ball deep, have some touch. He
threw some very nice deep balls at Pro Day. I mean, several of them, and it was fun to watch.
Yeah, he's got that ability. I think the biggest thing is trying to get the ball in and out of his hands a little bit. He does have a little bit of a wind-up-ish motion, and I'm sure they're going to try to get him to get the ball in and out of his hands quick, and that's because of what Indiana likes to do. They don't like the true drop-back passing game where Cal kind of always was forcing the ball down the field. That led to some of those sacks. I mean, 40 some odd times that kid was on his back. And remember, he didn't start the year. He wasn't the starter at the beginning of the year. I mean, he didn't get his chance until about 3 or 4 games into the season. And so it was something that even Coach Cignetti alluded to, is that he was under duress the vast majority of times that he was throwing the football.
Gritty brings up a good point. Indiana Sports Beat uncensored. This would have been a good day to have calls in for those that are listening live today.
Now you can always pull them up on the comments.
Well, you know what? I got a new phone. I don't know. After I returned from Montverde, and I still don't have everything set up in it. I went to the store one day a week or so ago and forgot my wallet at home, which is happens occasionally, but normally I've got my phone. If there's some way to pay, well, I had that phone and none of my stuff was put in it. None of my cards were in it. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
So, but the reason for that is that we have a phone number that we can have people call, but I don't believe I have it hooked up to my phone. But if I can get it hooked up in a break today, and that's another thing, we don't really have to take breaks today if we don't want to.
Yeah,
I can do whatever I want. You don't know how nice it is. I don't have to do post-production, don't have to get the show sent to the radio stations. It's awesome, an awesome feeling.
Just watch basketball today.
Well, no, we still got a lot of work to do there before and then mostly afterwards. But that's going to be interesting, man. Have you been keeping up with any of the hooping?
Oh, I think everybody at this point of the year kind of gets that giddiness of high school basketball sectionals. Now,
I'm glad you brought that up before I forget. Go out and catch a regional game this weekend, people. Indiana's probably be playing early today, and if they played again tomorrow, it would be at noon. So go out and catch a high school game. Yeah, support the next ones that are coming up. But
there's going to be there were some good sectional games last week that were pretty fascinating, but you got all these championship mentality situations going on right now. And then you add the spring football into the equation. It just sets everything up for what we hope is a nice spring weather pattern here before everything heads into the summer months and, spring break is upon us. So, I think the Ohio State loss was a little bit of a shock, but again, when you get in these type of tournaments, anybody can beat anybody at this point of the year. And, but Indiana's going to have to take care of business today against a very good, I think a tough team in Oregon. They kind of made their success of the year by just playing hard and, getting after people. But I think Indiana needs this one win here to kind of solidify themselves in the tourney. But that's kind of my opinion as it pertains to the field of 64 and such. So we'll have to see. Today's game at noon, I think, should be a really good one.
Oh, absolutely. And I've been calling it a must win. And it would definitely behoove Indiana to do that. If they win, they are not only are they in, I think that they move off of the first four in line, which would get them out of Dayton. Now, yesterday, if they lost, I said that they were out, which that still might be the case, but that has changed a little bit because now Ohio State has lost. Ohio State was below them a few spots, so that drops them down. It softens up the bottom a little bit. So if Indiana were to lose, as long as it was a tight game, I think that they could still sneak into probably last team in Dayton. I would not leave it up to
you don't do that.
No, but I think that that's a possibility. Yesterday I was, full bore, they lose, they're out. I'm not so positive about that now, but
no, I don't think, I think that game absolutely helped them. And the way they won that game, because there's so many games like that on this past weekend against Ohio State, you saw them lose in tight games. This game, you finally saw them in a pickle, needing to make some clutch shots, play some defense to get themselves another possession, and they did that. In games past, they got into this situation and they were kind of helter-skelter, and you didn't know what you were going to get. they finally looked as if they were coached in the last 2 minutes of the game. So I thought that was a very encouraging point of their game against Ohio State. And hopefully now they can carry it on against Oregon State. And again, with the talent they have, if there's ever a time for them to all sync up and, be on the same page and play with some passion and kind of what they showed against Ohio State, they could have a good run here in the Big Ten tourney.
Yeah, I heard someone say on the ride in this morning that, hey, man, they could win this whole thing. I'm like, no, they can't. I mean, I'm not trying to be negative, but Indiana has never won the Big Ten tournament. And of all the Indiana teams to do it, I don't see it being this team and this coach. Could be wrong, but that's always out there. That opportunity is always there to prove that wrong. But they don't have to. They just need to. If they want to get into the tournament, you definitely win today. That secures it. Like I said, if they don't, it's going to be. It might depend on who else does what.
Yeah,
around them.
The other thing was the game against Ohio State had a lot of, I guess you could say, some past history. That was Woodson's last senior game, as it was for a lot of the guys on Saturday. And, there was a little, that passion for that, maybe trying to get that one more win at home, plus of what some of the symbolic nature of it was, provided that extra oomph in the enthusiasm department. Now, do they have a letdown now? That's the biggest question. That's what I think they have to avoid today, is having any letdown, because I think you're correct. If they would happen to lose today, it's probably flipping a coin if whether they get into the play-in game or not. I think if they can win today, it really solidifies their positioning and not have to go to Dayton, like you said.
Yeah, and as long as Indiana's playing, it doesn't take anything away from the coaching search chatter, because it's going crazy, and everybody has their opinion about who they have. There's more opinions about who they don't want, I think, than who they want. But yeah. And then Jason thinks that he wants me to throw my support behind Chris Beard. Let me leave it up there. He mentions that someone, Aaron's on his podcast did, but Jason, you're not understanding this. I'm not a fan. I don't approach this as a fan. Aaron what he does is great, but it's a fan podcast. This is a radio show. I'm a reporter. I am not a Minnesota rah-rah or an Indiana rah-rah cheerleader. It's not my job to say who the coach is going to be. I can say who I think it might be, but that's not relevant. I'm not here to be a cheerleader. I don't really care who they hire. It's not I will report on who they hire. I will report on who they hire, what they do, but how they get there, that's not my doings. And it's not, plenty of other people want to do that. Fine, go ahead. I think it's a lot of times it's for attention, but nothing I say is going to matter anyway. And that's another thing that I think people misunderstand. Do you think people in Indiana are listening to anybody like us? No, I couldn't. No. But whether or not the guy that you want gets hired has nothing to do with someone like me wanting them or pushing them. That's not how it works at all. They are going through an exhaustive process, and that's how that will work out. See, the good thing about this is Bob Kravitz from BobKravitz.com. Bob, you look like a scraggly son of a bitch today.
Do I?
No, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to say that because you weren't with us earlier. Because of all the basketball games, the show is not on any of the radio stations the next 2 days. And I realized that last night. I said, you know what? I can say anything I want tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about it. And I don't have to worry about breaks or anything like that. It's awesome. So welcome aboard to ISB Uncensored.
Uncensored. Well, so I can do my comedy bit, huh?
Oh, how about a little?
No, no.
I am so disappointed, first of all, that Bob did not remind me, although it was not his job to remind me. I am just such a flake of remembering things. If it's not in my phone, it doesn't happen. And a week or so ago, Bob wasn't with us, but that night he did his routine. Where was the place?
Helium Comedy Club in downtown Indy. It's right downstairs from the Indianapolis Stars new building.
And I understand it was a little blue from what reports have been coming in, and all good reports, but a little blue.
Yeah, I do. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, man. Pretty much my lifestyle.
Can you give us a little just a snippet, just something? One.
Well,
what was the subject? Subject matter, anything?
Well, I talked about the first time I was in a locker room and saw Artist Gilmore's dong.
That's perfect.
Kentucky Colonels.
Seriously, the guy sat down in his locker. I thought he was playing the saxophone.
Not similar, but I was in the Cincinnati Reds locker room once, and I was over on the other side doing something.
This conversation,
and a guy that was with me had wandered off, and he was over there looking at Eric Davis's locker. And about that time, Eric Davis comes out of the shower, is his Louisville Slugger swinging in the air, and he said, "Something in there belonged to you."
Oh no.
Not to me. It wasn't me. Thank God. He relayed that to me. So I was like, man. But that's the kind of story to be today.
Real quick. The fact that my daughters, who they were born in Denver but came of age in Indiana, and they do something that absolutely disgusts me. They put ranch on pizza. I mean, I would rather they end up teen brides and work in the pole. That would be fine by me. But for the love of God, not ranch on pizza.
I can put ranch on about anything, Bob.
Do you? I believe it.
I could. It would not. I like ranch dressing. There's very little that I could not put it on, other than like fruit or something like that. But
I'm glad to hear there are limits.
French fries. Oh yeah,
that's not bad, I guess. But we're talking pizza.
Mashed potatoes.
Pizza is sacred.
Yeah, I don't like pineapple and all that crap on pizza. None of that stuff belongs on a pizza.
I would agree with that.
5 favorite pizza toppings:
pepperoni, sausage, mushroom, green pepper, and bacon.
There you go.
We're very close. Pepperoni, sausage, mushroom, onions, banana pepper.
I like banana peppers. You can have the onions.
Yeah.
Hey, what are they serving down there? I'm coming down there in about an hour.
Well, you can see how busy it is right here, not right now, right?
I see that.
Well, they ain't serving jack at the moment.
Okay, I'll go out and get myself some breakfast.
That's what I did. Speaking of which, so a little action yesterday. Indiana gets a little help from the Ohio State Buckeyes. Talked about that a little bit as they're out. There's nothing they can do now to get into the NCAA tournament.
All right, so let me ask you smart people this question. Does Indiana have to win today to make the tournament?
Well,
I think they do.
Go ahead, Griff.
No, I had said that prior to Bob coming on. I do think they have to win to solidify themselves in the tournament. I think it takes them out of the play-in game. I think it gives them a firm seat, but that's what I think. I think they have to have a win today to lock it down. Yeah. I think if they lose, it's kind of a flip of a coin, and maybe that get into the play-in game.
I think that it would definitely behoove them to win. And yesterday I said without question that if they lost, they were out. That was before Ohio State lost.
Right.
I think that because Ohio State has now softened that bottom a little more, I think that possibly if it was a really close game and they lost,
Mhm.
they could still get in that last spot in Dayton, but it also depends on who's around them.
Right. I
that-
gotta look. I gotta look at the last four in and see who they're playing.
Well,
And
right now the top of the last four in is Ohio State. So when Ohio State won't pass Indiana because they
Right.
beat Ohio State twice.
right.
So that's why I'm thinking, man, they could lose maybe and still
Yeah, I doubt it.
fall in.
Do they deserve to be in the NCAA
Well, of course they
tournament?
don't.
Of
No,
course they don't.
none of
And
these
people
last
are
none of
talking
these teams that we're
about
talking about
raising the number of teams to whatever.
ridiculous.
Don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, the CFP showed last year that you don't need more teams,
No,
and the NCAA tournament doesn't need more teams.
no.
That's without
Just
question.
Leave it as is.
All right, the coaching search is people are just going nuts about it still. It is Chris Beard for a lot of people, but I am still of the mindset that Chris Beard is not going to happen. And I am pretty confident about that, but there's a lot of people that don't feel that way.
Well, I understand. Look, if you ask me who's the best candidate for the job, it's Chris Beard. To me,
I agree,
it's
and
Chris
I
Beard.
agree.
The question is, once they do vet him, look, he's not running for political office, although these days that would probably be a feather in his cap. But he, they got to go back and look at all the police reports and see what exactly went down, see if there was a history of this. And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. That's why they have that company helping them out.
Yeah, I forgot the name of it now. Daggone it. But
TNT
yes,
or something.
but I don't know because he is the best candidate.
He is.
And not only that, you hire him from on the court, you're winning next year.
Yeah, no doubt.
Without question. And so it's hard. I mean, there are people that think just because I don't think that Chris Beard is going to get a shot at it, that I don't like him. That's not it at all. I think he's the best candidate. I don't think it's going to happen is all. And we'll see. But I'm also not I'm not of the McCollum camp yet. And I'm not saying he couldn't do it. Maybe he would be. Maybe he is the next up and comer. But they're 22-3. But you know what their net ranking is?
No.
They're behind Northwestern.
Oh, really? Haven't played anybody.
No, they play in a nowhere conference. They have a net ranking below Northwestern people. So, and yesterday there was someone commenting about the style Drake plays. They play the slowest. They are the slowest paced basketball team
I
in
did read
352 Division I teams.
Yeah,
and that does matter. I think. I mean,
Put people to sleep.
well, and some people don't think it, but I don't know what it would be like with better talent.
Yeah,
but
that's true too.
It's hard to judge. I'm just not sure Indiana is in a position to take that risk because it is a risk.
No, to me, again, you just have to vet the hell out of Chris Beard and figure out what exactly went down, what steps he has taken to get himself right and get his relationship right. And, I'm all for giving a guy grace. I'm usually, I mentioned to our friend Mike DeCourcy that I thought he was the best candidate. And he said, that really surprises me coming from you because I've always been really, I've always been really tough on people who engage in that kind of activity, domestic violence and whatnot. But
it should be, and I get that, but I don't think that is it's. I don't think it's as clear cut as what a lot of those that are just calling it that it's this. I don't think that's quite how it happened. I'm not saying he is totally innocent. He was in a position, but he was at home, man. He was, what is he? He wasn't out at a bar and doing something else. He was.
I mean, that doesn't make any difference. I mean,
no. I don't mean that. I meant he was allegedly in his home working, and the other person was inebriated, and they engaged the entire episode. So, but I'm not there. I don't have all of the backstory.
Right.
I'm not doing
and
there are
those of us who aren't there will never know. And again, I think Indiana is in a position where they need to take a little bit of a chance. They need to take a little bit of a chance. And to me, that would be Chris Beard.
yeah.
You know,
And then I
you know
don't.
what's- I was going to say something here. You know what's interesting is you talked about the search. You take a guy like Chris Beard, sometimes what ADs will do is they'll leak a name just to get a response, and see what the response is, right? No names. I mean, Dolson has played it both the tight to the vest with Signetti. He's played it tight to vest with even this hire, which is probably a little bit more up the scale than when he went to and got Signetti. So Beard, I think, like you said, Bob, would have to have a deep dive in the background checks and things of that nature. And this would be one that I think you'd have to have the president sign off on as it pertains to the background and what he has, or whether or not that's a relevant point not to hire a guy, or irrelevant because of the background check came back and there's more to it than just what was reported.
Right. And look, just because you got a female president doesn't mean one way or the other. I don't believe. I mean, a lot of people are assuming that Pam Whitten would refuse to sign off. I look, it's about money. It's about winning. It's about bringing back the culture. I think she can look at this in an objective manner.
If that is the case, I think that he would have a good shot, but that's not what I heard. That's not the feeling. That's not the, even the people that have rumored that it was the case have come back around and said, oh, it's not the case. And I just have never from day one did I ever think that it was a real possibility.
Okay. Well, we shall find out. And today is going to be really intriguing. I mean, Oregon's won 7 in a row.
Here's the best thing, though. Robert says, if anyone is listening to us regarding IU's coaching search, the program is in much worse shape than we believe it is. Thank you, Robert. That is exactly the correct thing to say. I like Chris Collins. This is not something that I've always been, but if it wasn't Chris Beard, I kind of like Chris Collins for the names that are being batted around. He had success at Northwestern with no resources, and I'm thinking, man, anybody that comes to Indiana is going to have resources they have never had ever.
Did you hear Northwestern apparently got in a hotel last night with no air conditioning? Where in Indiana, besides the Roach Motel, can you possibly go that doesn't have air conditioning? Unless
it had to break down, surely.
It must have broke down. It's the only thing I can think of.
Pecan is asking, is it true that 8 candidates have turned down the IU job? I haven't heard
that.
Anybody turn it down. Number one. Number two, if you want to, I could accept 2 for that, with Brad Stevens just saying, hey, I'm not a candidate. Right. He didn't turn the job down. He was never a legit candidate. And Dusty May, you can say he turned it down by signing the extension to Michigan. But other than that, even if TJ Otzelberger, it's not turning it down. He's happy where he is.
Right.
And some people are happy where they are. Some people can't understand why if you just offer the Indiana job, that everyone's going to drop everything and run. That's not the case. Some people, McCollum, for example, he's an Iowa guy. Iowa's going to have an open job here.
Mm-hmm.
Not today after they beat Ohio State, but probably pretty soon.
That's a really good point. That'd be a perfect spot for him to land.
And you think he doesn't see that, know that? Maybe there's already been talks with agents. I don't know.
Oh, there's always back alley maneuvering going on. So I'm sure he knows what the situation is in Iowa.
No ranch on the pizza from John, by the way.
Damn right, John.
Sending Indiana to Dayton is a moneymaker, also for the NCAA. I don't know about that. He wouldn't be surprised even if they win and didn't end up there. No, that's not going to happen. If Indiana wins, they will move. I think they move off of the Dayton line.
Yeah,
it's a good win. I mean,
yeah.
I don't have the teams in front of me, the bracket in front of me, just to know who's in front, who's right behind. But I don't. That's 2 spots, so they'd have to move,
Right?
Or 3, I guess, really. So, yeah. Todd says that New York pizzas all taste like Papa John's.
Oh, what the hell? New York pizza is God's pizza.
What's a pizza bone? Pizza bone's gritty, dips pizza bones and dipped in ranch.
Never had a pizza bone.
I don't know what a pizza bone is.
I don't think pizzas have bones.
I get the boneless pizza.
Yeah.
I always go for the boneless pizza. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how much longer this goes. Of course, it's always dependent on who they're looking at, who they're talking to. But I would imagine by now they have to be getting narrower.
Oh, yeah.
Closer.
They cutting down.
There's got to be a front runner of some type.
But look, yeah, every GM worth his salt, the minute he hires a coach, he's got 5 names in his desk, ready to go. I mean, these guys are aware that they're going to have to fire this dude at some point. And you know, I think one of the reasons why it's been so quiet is out of respect for Woody.
Yeah,
I really do. I think we're going to start hearing and seeing some things come leaking out once this basketball season is over.
Oh yeah, and I don't think it's going to always be pretty, unfortunately, and I think that it doesn't need to be that way. You're talking about not from Woody.
No, yeah, right. Just the name.
Yeah, I'm saying we're not going to hear a lot of names. I'm sorry, maybe I wasn't clear. We're not going to hear much in the way of names until this season is over, out of respect for Woodson, I believe. Even though,
even then, I don't know how much we'll know because God has done a really good job of keeping this under wraps, and I think that that will probably kind of stay that way. Anybody that wants to use it as an opportunity to get a raise or an extension, that's a name that you might hear of. But other than that, if they're not getting a new contract or something, it's probably best to keep it on the down low.
Yeah, agreed.
I think they've already got their guy. I think he's already I think they've already probably have a hire, and they're going to keep it close to the vest until IU season is complete, and whoever that person is, if he's an attorney and he's moving on with his team, because I'm not so sure that after what he did in terms of letting Woodson go now, quite a few weeks ago, that he doesn't have somebody already in line. I'd be surprised. At least I should say that.
I agree with that, Shannon. I think I don't think they're just waiting till the season's over. I mean, this process began a long time ago, and I guarantee you that through back alleys, this thing has gotten pretty close to done. So as soon as the season's over, I think we'll see some smoke coming out of the rooftops.
I agree as well, and I think that they definitely have a 1, 2, a 3, and a possibly 4 because we saw last year with Louisville and Kentucky, it had to be that way. Mark Pope was not there first, yada yada down the line, but they're able. I think because of the time that Scott has had, and when it was. He kind of has been forced to keep it quiet, but he's been able to use more time to do this. That, yeah, they've been able to go through a lot of processes, although it's a lot of stuff to go through. When if you're looking at 8 different guys, that's 8 different guys that have to be vetted and looked at.
Well, that's why you have these companies. I mean, that's what they do for a living. So, you just throw a name at them and tell them to get you all the dirt.
Absolutely. What's the dirt on you?
The dirt on me is I will be at the game bothering you, and I will not be dressed as well as you. I'm very impressed with your sartorial splendor. But, yeah, I'll be there, and I'll be as long as IU and Purdue are sticking around, I'll be there. Can't wait.
Now you're going to watch both games because one's at the beginning of the day and the other's at the end of the day.
Oh, I'll see how motivated I am.
Yeah, I will not be watching Purdue play basketball tonight.
Well,
that I can promise you.
I'll be watching, but it may not be in-house.
I hear that. So what are your thoughts on the search as far as whom I know you talked about Chris Beard. If it is not him.
Oh, gosh. Well, there's a pregnant pause. You never want that in comedy, by the way, a pregnant pause.
It's called dead air in radio.
Unless you're Otzelberger.
You know what?
Do I think he'll move? No, but to me, he's the most impressive guy outside of Beard.
He is very, very, he's has been as successful as anybody. He had Iowa State and has Iowa State playing extraordinarily well this year. And that's that's a hard place to do that.
Yeah.
And so it's very impressive, to be honest with you. And they'd be fortunate to get him. Like you said, I don't know that he will leave Iowa State. There's a lot of relationships there, but people move all the time.
Yeah.
And Indiana is a great job to have. It is a great opportunity, and it's not an opportunity that comes around every day.
No, exactly. Well, it is pretty much every day.
It's once every 4 years. It's like a graduating class. It's like once every 4 years.
Graduating class gets and you get a coach, and you get a coach. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think Otzelberger is just a prodigy. I think he's got some Brad Stevens to him, but we'll see. I'll be ready to crank something out when the smoke appears.
Well, are you going to do it very comedically?
Probably not, unless he's a funny guy. I mean, my columns are pretty straightforward, but I kind of dug it, man. I after the first 2 jokes, I settled in, and if anybody wants to watch it, I put it up free on bobkravitz.com.
Well, absolutely.
Just keep in mind, it's what do they call it? NSFW, not suitable for work.
There you go. I did not know that.
Use some headphones. Unfortunately, they lit me. They give you a little light to tell you when you got to wrap up, and they gave me my light about 30 seconds early by accident. So I wasn't able to use my last 2 or 3 jokes. So, but I can't.
Like the Oscars, they were playing you off.
No, they weren't playing me off. It's just a little light that goes on, and you're like,
okay. Same thing, though.
Yeah,
but more like the debates.
Yeah. It's like when Biden said, "Oh, I got a light. I'm done." Yeah.
Well, they should do like they do at the debates and just shut your mic off.
Ooh, that would have been good. Yeah.
So you're telling us it was rigged?
Yeah. No, it went really, really well. I was scared. I was freaking mortified and pulled it off. Adrenaline's a hell of a drug, man.
That it is. That's why they say those guys do it. They get nervous as hell still, and they still get up there and do it. It's like being a rock star, man. You are the rock star. You're our rock star.
Well, we need to raise the level of expectation there.
Well, there's, I live a muted life, so take whatever I can get. Well, Robert, I hope you enjoy your day and look forward to
I will. I'll see you down there. I'll see you in your nice brown jacket or whatever color that is.
Yeah,
Looks brown.
I don't even know. I think it's like a dark gray, blue. I don't know.
Okay, whatever. But you look
Something like that.
Yeah,
they got some funky lights in here. There's some red lighting up there. It's odd. Never noticed that before. This is the old practice gym.
The old practice gym. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, they have the St. Vincent Center now, but this is connected to the field house, and this is where they used to practice. It's amazing. It's just brick walls around, kind of cool. It's kind of a Hoosiers-esque kind of a feel.
That's the way they built it. Oh, by the way, do we little inside baseball? Do we walk into the usual entrance where we do for Pacers?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll be there. I won't get lost.
Perfect. Bob Kravitz from BobKravitz.com joining us here on this muted version of Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Appreciate you, sir. We'll see you soon. I don't even have to do breaks today. It's awesome.
Awesome. Good to see you fellas.
You as well, buddy.
Good to see you, Bob.
See you soon. Hey, if you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, make sure you reach out to Cheryl Sizemore at Brick and Ivy Realty. She's got over 20 years of experience and could be the difference in getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. Can't believe I can read that. Appreciate you, Cheryl. And everybody, how is your day going? Who else? Is anybody coming to the game? I know a lot of you guys are not from around here that are watching right now, but Russell asking, did Drake make the day? You know what? I would have thought that they made it. I haven't looked to see where they are. Been too busy with everything else. Pecan Pie says the search firm has already vetted him. I assume you were talking about Mr. Beard. Yeah. Jamie says Norman Dale got a second chance. Well, he's already gotten a second chance. He got it at Ole Miss, but will he get that by Indiana? I'll be honest with you. It doesn't make sense to me that he wouldn't, because he's moved forward. What is he? Is this the scarlet letter? I know it's if he is guilty of all those things, that's a different situation. I'm talking about it as if there's a lot of ambiguity as to whether or not that he was turnkey. Thank you, Caleb. So that's why. And if they find out and do search and say, you know what, he really wasn't at fault, then hey, maybe a lot of us are going to look dumber than we are. I just don't know if IU will take that chance because of, the past. They've got all the stuff going on, the Dr. Bomba stuff. There's been more names added to that. I think there are now 4 names officially on that lawsuit, and a 5th has spoken, and there are more than that. But that's another thing that I have to think that has to play into this. One has nothing to do with the other. Don't confuse that. But it's just something that you have, and you don't want to add something else. I don't know what the perception would be. I don't know why would there be a bad perception if Indiana were to hire him? If they vet him and
right.
If they vet him and feel confident enough to to hire him, then there should be no bad perception. That's
Right.
that's the issue that people forget. But yet people don't know everything, and you don't know what you don't know. And that goes for me a lot of the time, but it goes for the average fan even more so. You just don't know what you don't know. And those are most of the time, you're never going to know that. So opinions are formed on what you do know. And that's how you can get off.
Yeah. The other thing about the Beard situation, kind of not knowing what all was involved, just kind of like you said, if it was so egregious that Texas had no choice, he would have been gone a long time ago. So there must be something there that, even though he was probably in the wrong for what did transpire, there was extenuating circumstances that may have not made him the total bad guy in that situation, that they felt they could weather the outcry about the, off the court issue.
Will Wade, this is a name that I wonder if it has quietly picked up steam unbeknownst to any of us. Mostly known because of making strong ass offers to players back when strong ass offers were not allowed. So my natural instinct is the fact that he cheated, and he got caught on an FBI wiretap.
Yeah.
You're not on an FBI wiretap unless there is something that they think that you're doing illegal. So the mere fact that he was on an FBI wiretap, that's a little scary. But the fact that he got caught saying what he did is that's even scarier. May get Ken Sterling on with us. He's showing up, and since speak of the devil, we're lucky today. None of the shows are on radio today, so I can say whatever I want, and I don't have to take breaks, and it's a lot easier. Could cuss if I wanted to, but I don't want to. But Ken Sterling joining us right now. Coach Shannon Griffith with us as well. He handles our football issues, but he's jumping in on the football side of things today. I was just talking about Will Wade. Will Wade is a name that has been kind of coming up. I've never been a fan of him, only because of he got caught on an FBI wiretap. And the fact that you're on an FBI wiretap is a little scary in and of itself. But what he got caught for is legal now. Some people think that that's okay. I see it as, man, you were cheating when it was still cheating, though. So I don't know. I don't think Indiana will go that direction personally.
No, cheating is cheating, and we can't have cheaters here, and we can't have a guy who puts his hand on a woman. There's got to be a boundary someplace, something we are unwilling to cotton in order to win basketball games.
Exactly, and now you got to find who is that best guy that can get you there. And I'm not going to say that I know who that is, but there are guys out there. I like Chris Collins is the name I like. Yep. I'm not saying he's the guy, but I think that he has had success at a place where it's very difficult to be successful. You don't have the resources that you would have it at Indiana, and people try to compare that. I'm like, you can't compare that. Put him in Indiana's shoes, or with that NIL money, put him with the in-state talent recruiting and all of that goes with that. And maybe that situation is probably quite different.
I like Chris Collins. I like Ben McCollum. Ben McCollum doesn't bother me. They don't score a lot of points at Drake, but I kind of like Collins. And you know what? Brad Brownell, I know he hadn't won championships at Clemson, but I think there's a good talent pool for Scott Dolson to choose from, where if you go get one of these guys, you're going to win games because of the resources and because it's Indiana and because you know how to recruit this state.
Brownell's a similar situation. He's been at Clemson. That is not,
Yeah.
that's a football school. It's always been a football school. Definitely did not have the resources that he's had here. And he's had a lot of success here of late there. And even though they're in the ACC this year, which is very weak, very damn good year, where they lost 4 times or something.
But you're recruiting if you're at Clemson. First of all, Clemson's in the middle of nowhere. And so you're recruiting really in the Carolinas against Duke, North Carolina State, Wake Forest, South Carolina, and kind of Georgia. So, I mean, if you come to Indiana, you're going to be able to recruit a different level of cat within this state. And I think that he could do well. I think there are a bunch of guys who could do well. And I think that over the last few searches, they've kind of lapsed their thinking into people who just can't.
And they seem to put themselves in positions a lot of times. The timing is not right. A lot of the times they've made mistakes, bad hires along the way, not necessarily bad hires, wrong hires. Kelvin Sampson was not a bad hire. He's the best coach they probably had, but he was a wrong hire because the president got involved and he turned right around and did what he did at Oklahoma. And then it was more about the character of players he brought in than anything.
That was a train wreck. That was, if you're willing to skirt morality and skirt the rules, you're going to recruit people who will do the same thing. And that was kind of the flaw in this thinking behind Sampson's hire. Crean, there were 2 kinds of Crean. There was Crean from 08 to 13 who did that job the right way. And then he burned all the bridges in the state of Indiana and couldn't continue to win. So he's gone. And then you go out and hire Archie Miller. For what purpose? I have no idea. That was terrible from the jump, not a Grand Slam hire. And then you bring in Woody because you want some kind of linkage to the past, and he'd had some success in the NBA.
And it didn't work. So, but now they're in the point, they have to get this right.
Yeah.
NIL, and I've said this 1,000 times, NIL and the transfer portal were almost created simply to get Indiana back to being successful.
Yeah.
There is nobody that would benefit more from both of those than Indiana, and they still haven't yet. They've got to get the right guy in here because they've got the NIL, they've got the in-state recruiting, they've got the facilities, they've got an incredible fan base, they've got everything a coach would dream of to be a top-level coach, and that program should be a top-level program year in, year out. I'm not saying they should win a national championship every year. They should be competing for them, though.
You should win at Indiana. Like from the jump, you ought to be able to win. You ought to be able to turn this around quick. If Kurt Cignetti can turn football around in 1 year, 1 off season, basketball ought to be able to turn it around like that. It ought to be a quick process.
Football is very difficult to do. And not only is football difficult to do, Kurt Cignetti did it at a school, but football was a walking corpse.
Yeah.
It had never been anything of substance. And so I'm still amazed at what he did. But that shows you what the right coach with a plan and with the right players, that's another thing this program has not had the last 4 years. It has not had the right players to match a plan because there wasn't really a plan other than let's throw the ball inside and beat people 2-0 throughout every game, and it doesn't work.
And you've got alignment between Pamela Whitten and Scott Dolson and whoever the coach is going to be. And Kurt Cignetti had a lot to do with putting in place kind of that. Are we about when he went into Dolson's office when they shut down Memorial Stadium for the Eclipse thing? He came in and said, are we about winning or are we not about winning? You're going to have William Shatner and in this concert that's going to close down my stadium during spring practice for a week. Are we about winning or are we not? Because if we're not about winning, I'll pack a bag and I'll go. And Dolson's like, whoa, no, we're about winning. So kind of all of that terrain has been plowed and is ready for a basketball coach to come in and use Cook Hall and use the fan base, like you said, and Assembly Hall and the NIL money and revenue sharing, which you're going to spend to the maximum. You have to win here. A moderately successful coach is going to be able to win at a high level. You could win at a high level at Indiana if you were the coach.
I say that all the time. So you can win, you can win, you can win. We can all win. It's mind-boggling that it has not happened, but it hasn't. And it's been 8 years of, I know it's been longer than that for truly Indiana's success. But the last 8 years have really been a roller coaster of ups and downs, and mostly downs, unfortunately. And Indiana fans, I'm amazed that they're still as strong as they are. The fan base, it is amazing because they've gone through the losing, they've gone through the bad hires, and yet they still stay and they keep coming back, but they're tired of losing.
People keep talking about the Indiana fans, all the national knuckleheads talk about Indiana fans being impatient. We are the most patient people in the history of fans.
They're sick of losing.
We make Cubs fans look like they were impatient for years and years and decades and decades. Indiana fans over the last 9 years have had nothing to celebrate. In 16, we celebrated beating Kentucky to go to the Sweet 16. In 13, we celebrated not being able to get the ball into the middle against Jim Boeheim's 2-3 zone and getting run out of that tournament when we should have won it. And back then you got to go back to 02. We're the most patient people in the world, and they keep talking about how we're like, oh, he's got to go, he's got to go. We went through 4 years of Archie Miller 3 years without saying a peep, and then we got kind of loud about it.
I didn't make 3 years. I can tell you that right now. I guarantee I didn't make 3 years. I was second year in. He was just such a not a good guy.
No,
and that was the biggest part. If he was a nice guy like Tom Allen, you differentiate the losing from the person, because Tom's a great guy. I love him outside of the game, but he just wasn't built to be Indiana's head football coach. And great luck to him. He's a hell of a defensive coordinator down at Clemson. He's been on with me since. But Archie is I call him Little Rhodey. He's something. But good as him. But who is it going to be? If you had to do it today, if gun to your head, I know it's a stupid question because we don't know anything. We don't know truly what is going on back there behind the scenes.
We don't know what's going to happen with Fran. And Fran might be...
He's got to be gone.
You would think.
I mean, yesterday's win was nice, but they have been the epitome of mediocrity.
Yeah, for years and years. It never got to a Sweet 16.
That's amazing.
If he gets fired, then Ben McCollum becomes kind of the guy at Iowa. And so if you have to take him off the table, then it gets really kind of murky with Indiana. But I think that no matter what happens, IU is going to have an entree to a really good coach to come into Bloomington and kind of set things right. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be some kind of like logical and sensible. If you do things in a sensible way at Indiana, you set a standard, you coach to that standard, you're going to win at Indiana. So I'm really hopeful that no matter who it is, whether it's McCollum or not, that they're going to find a guy who can do it.
Did they miss out on Dusty May, or did that work out the way it was supposed to work out?
You know, sometimes you got to make your own timing, Jim. You got to go out. And if Dusty May was a guy where if Dolson even for a second looked across the street and said, oh, Ford Atlantic, I love this guy. He was here. Let's go get him. You let Woodson go in that moment and bring him in. In 2012-ish, you could have gotten Brad Stevens, but you wanted to hang on to Crean. I don't blame anybody for doing that, but you got to make your own timing when that timing's right. And Indiana's never been willing to do that. They just feel like it's going to fall in their laps, and it never does.
Nope, and they always miss it. It seemed like they're always been a step behind, like last year, a year behind, wherever the case may be. Everyone knows that most people should know who you are, but if not, where can they all find you? I know your YouTube channel is flying off. I was actually watching it on the way up this morning.
Were you really?
I wasn't driving, so I got to do that.
Hey, I know Kent Sterling. Everybody knows Kent Sterling now. Come on.
I do mornings on WGCL in Bloomington, and you can find that your app store, Bloomington's Voice. You can listen to it anywhere. I'm on from 7 to 9.
I was thinking it was 6 to 8.
Yeah.
7
Oh
to
no,
9.
6. That's a little bit early.
Hey, I did 6 to 8 before.
That's that's a long slog. I can't drag my butt out of bed at 4:30 in the morning.
I didn't always either.
That's the thing about radio. Like at 7:06,
you got to be there. Yeah.
Or it's dead. So what are you going to do?
Absolutely. Make sure you check out his YouTube channel and find him on, go get the app for GCL. If you're not in Bloomington, I know a lot of you guys are. So make sure you're listening to him on GCL. It's and Glass in the afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, Glass, buddy. He's a big time. He covers IU a lot. He's out at the games, but he's been around Bloomington forever. He's probably the heir apparent to Joe. I would imagine Joe's still calling the games too, man.
Absolutely. Joe, you can't. Joe's going to be there for another 20 years.
Maybe 30. His voice is so iconic.
Yeah.
And I love him and the people around there. But appreciate you, brother.
Thanks,
Thank
Jim.
you for stopping by. I'll
Appreciate
see you in a little bit because I get to do a shorter show today, and I'm happy about it. Well, Griff, football, like we said, practice is going on right now, and that will continue. The spring game moved up to the Thursday, which is in a couple of weeks. Unfortunately, I never get to make it out to practice because I'm usually doing the show, so I can't get out there, unfortunately, to see that. But you don't get to see a lot anyway. But it's just good to go out, see him even to see him making throws or whatever. So,
I mean, it's a it's a good opportunity if you want to get your eyes on some of the newcomers, the guys that may be, knocking at the door for an opportunity and such. But having a morning practice kind of makes things difficult for people to get into a practice or out to a practice when it's available. I think today will be maybe their first day in full gear because you have that 2-day acclimation period for spring ball. And, Cignetti's not using his total number of practices either. He's never been a big, I got to use all of them type of guy. So they're only, I think, officially doing 13 total practices. So, this will probably either today or Saturday they'll utilize one of their full padded days and to probably tune it up a little bit and maybe get some scrimmage action in here on certain situations. But spring ball, you're limited in what you can or can't do, and it's always good to give the guys that have been in the program an opportunity to go out and compete, be evaluated, see where they stand, even from the coach's perspective. Now, you have to determine whether a young player is ever going to rise to the level that you need him to rise to, because now the portal is the answer for a position group that's just not where it needs to be depth-wise. So spring practice is vitally important to other things, especially in the evaluation of your program.
Today, action continues. Indiana tips it off at noon, I should say. Last night, Rutgers USC, man, I watched that game. Rutgers was down, came back, and had that game won, let it slip away as USC pulled it out. So that was fun to watch. So lots of fun games coming up. Purdue plays last today. Like I said, I will not be watching that game live, I'll guarantee it. Maryland is my sleeper to win this, or not sleeper, but I think Maryland's going to win this tournament. If I had to pick somebody, I hate picking favorites, so I'm not picking Michigan State. I like Maryland. I like how they're playing. There's nobody that really stands out that makes me think, oh, man, nobody can beat them. There's no Purdue, no dominant Purdue like there was before. And Maryland's been playing really well, but you can't count anybody out. UCLA, Michigan, Michigan State, Illinois, Wisconsin. They got knocked down a little bit. They lost their last couple of games, knocked them down, probably cost them a seed line, but they can make some hay here if they get some wins. So we'll see how it goes, but make sure you keep tuned in and keep up with it. We'll keep you apprised and be back tomorrow to do it all again. Cannot thank you enough, Coach, for joining us as always.
Yeah, we'll be on tonight.
We'll have a little more football to talk about, but not really, because the NCAA tournament will be going on. Whether Indiana is in that or not, we'll find out in about however many hours it is, and about 2:00. I'll let you know.
Well, let the audience know I'll be on tonight 7:30. Going to have Zach Browning join me and talk a little bit of spring practice and some of the things that he feels that Indiana will need to accomplish this spring, and some of the young guys that he thinks will, be there knocking on the door for some playing time this year. So always appreciate Zach's viewpoints.
He's a good one, man. A good one to have, and he's been covering football very well, doing a great job.
Yeah, he does a great job.
And for those of you that following the Hoosier.com, little inside knowledge for you. No one knows that April 1st, the Hoosier.com will become part of the On3 network. So
look out.
You'll be seeing lots of great content, like from yours truly there, Coach Shannon Griffith, and more. Looking forward to it. Coach, have a great one, brother. Enjoy this Big Ten tournament.
I will get the front row seat today.
We used to have those. No more, baby. They kicked us out. I think they're making money with them now.
I believe so.
Well, enjoy your day, and everybody else enjoy their day. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
What do you use?